So today's New World episode of Forged in Aeternum was a Q&A video which answers some very important questions about the upcoming expansion that we are going to be seeing here soon in the world of Aeternum called Rise of the Angry Earth. Lots of community asked questions and I'm going to address some of the most important ones here for you guys as a quick sort of rundown of what they went through in this video. It was obviously officially from the developers, so a lot of this stuff is going to be great to take on board in terms of what we can expect going forward. So first things first, the expansion can be bought on October 3rd and there are no pre-orders available for the expansion. Instability at the PTR launch has been established a root cause, and they found out basically what caused the issues, and they said that particular issue will not be there, but of course other things could crop up. Fingers crossed for that one though, that we're going to be fine on the launch day. Now in terms of gear progressions, someone said, can we get really good gear too quickly now? And they said that really good gear, or good gear in general, 700 gear score or that kind of end game level stuff, is going to be able to be got quicker, is going to be less grindy, and there is going to be easier to have multiple sets, basically to enable the player to have more fun. But you will still have to get and level up the artifacts, basically unlocking their perks, etc. And going for best in slot or BIS gear at 700 gear score will still be the same as it currently is for the 625, so trying to get those best 3 perks other than your chosen artifact piece, of course, is still going to be something that you're going to want to do. Now, in terms of grindiness with that, then we have, of course, got the brand new crafting material, the Prismatic Scarab. Now, for those that aren't aware, the Prismatic Scarab is a new item that is going to be added with the expansion that is essentially going to allow you to craft a 700 gear score item with the exact perks on that you want it to have. So, essentially, craft a best in slot item. Now, currently, these will be very expensive, but like I said, you do get to choose all of the perks and it is guaranteed to be BIS for that reason, of course, if you choose the right perks. And for those wondering, the cost of the Prismatic Scarab is currently going to be, of course, requiring you to have the brand new max level of 250 on the stone cutting, and then you'll need to combine 500 Azoth, 3 Prismatic blocks, 10 golden Scarabs, and 50 pure solvent. Now, later in the video, they do mention that a potential reduction in material cost for the Prismatic Scarab crafts might come in after we've seen a bit more testing in the PTR and based on player feedback, so we'll have to wait and see for further updates on the final cost there. But even without the final cost, Prismatic blocks are going to be fairly expensive, and getting up to level 250 is going to take a little bit of time. But other than that, we can, of course, stockpile Azoth through terms of vials currently, and we can, of course, stockpile the pure solvent. Obviously, lots of us have much too much of that as it is, and the golden scarabs, generally we can get those hands on, although they might be expensive on some servers. You are able to still get them from the chests and whatnot currently, so you can start working towards those, and fingers crossed we might even get a reduction in what those cost, so getting BIS will be slightly less grindy, but it is still going to be purposefully expensive, which I do think makes sense. Now, there will be no season pass and expansion bundles, so you will have to purchase those separately. Gypsum will still be used to create Gypsum Orbs. Now, these Gypsum Orbs are going to be used to make the brand new matrices in the game, which can be weapon matrices, armor matrices, or jewelry matrices, and of course upgrading heart runes to 700 gear score. Now, the matrices are new items that will require level 250 in the correlating skill. So, for example, for the weapon matrices, you will need to be level 250 in engineering or weaponsmithing to be able to craft them, as well as plenty of the new tier of prismatic materials alongside the gypsum orbs. So definitely save up your gypsum orbs. Now, matrices are going to be used for altering the final perk of a named or artifact weapon, or armor or jewelry, depending of course on which one you are using. So gypsum orbs are still going to be certainly very prevalent, as I think changing the final perk of a named item particularly, or even the artifact one, is going to be very useful to help you get close to BIS, or in fact actual best in slot items through these if you are able to do so. And I think that's going to be a very nice thing that a lot of players are going to want to be involved in. Now, they also said there is major plans to improve both PvP and PvE experiences throughout the game, but these are not going to be talked about until after the expansion, i.e. until next year, or when they start talking about next year on the YouTube channel. Of course, this was from their Forged in Aeternum video that they've just released for this month, so maybe we'll see some updates on that later towards the end of this year. Now, in terms of OPR and war and PvP, and in relation specifically to the Rise of the Angry Earth update, What we're going to see is OPRs and arenas will have everyone's gear score raised up to 675, so not quite the full 700, but that is regardless of whether you've actually bought the expansion or not. So everybody across the board competing in those modes will have a minimum of 675 gear score. However, in Wars and of course in Open World, you do not get scaled for PvP. So in Wars, basically, if you don't buy the expansion, they said it will be tough to get picked. So people who don't buy it will essentially have a disadvantage compared to those that do. Like I said there, as there is no scaling, but there will be scaling in OPR and arenas. So it kind of depends. If you are currently still playing and you want to compete at the top level, it's basically going to be essential to buy the expansion. Now, influence races is another thing that is going to be slightly different with this update. They will happen at one territory at a time, but you will need to defend them. So having multiple territories will be a lot more difficult, and it will be a lot more of a commitment, because although these will be one at a time, you are still going to have to get players on to actively defend these territories. So it's going to be a lot harder to maintain multiple territories, especially if you don't have a full 100-member company with a lot of active members at prime times when these territory races go into fruition. New resources may have an increased respawn time. This will be tuned as needed, but this is interesting because this is something I personally have wondered about quite a lot. Obviously, everybody is going to be rushing to get hands-on with them, but they said they may well increase that respawn time, especially towards the start of that if it is needed. I'm not too sure at this point whether they're going to be in any of the other zones. I presume they're just going to be available in the Elysian Wild Zone, obviously to mean that if you want to get hands-on with them, you pretty much have to buy the expansion. Edengrove, of course, will be a new town, and everybody will have access to that town with or without the expansion being purchased, to compensate for the fact that First Light will have gone unless you purchase the expansion. So that is something positive for both people who are going to purchase and who aren't going to purchase the expansion. Named items that are currently at a 590 gear score will not be able to be upgradable after the update drops, unless you've got them to 600 or above, or to 625. I couldn't quite make clear exactly what they were saying there, but the same exact items will drop at 625 gear score after the expansions. There will be no fresh start servers with the expansion. Obviously, there is the fresh start servers we got in line with Brimstone Sands, but there's going to be no new ones released. And then finally, they kind of finished off the dev update video explaining what players should do between now and the expansion dropping in terms to get ahead or to prepare for the expansion. The first thing, of course, they said was enjoy the game. The next thing they went on to talk about was the main story quest, and they were saying that if you are leveling for the first time, or you're leveling a new or secondary character, whatever the case may be, stop the main story quest after Weaver's Fen if you haven't already got that far, because they have redone Great Cleave, so it's going to be a better experience. However, if you did already do at least up to Tempest, then do go all the way through Brimstone Sands too, because in Brimstone Sands you can get 615 to 620 gear score items dropped from the main story quest, and that way it will put you in better stead to getting towards the brand new content of the Elysian Wilds if you are going to play it when that drops, without having to do too much grinding for Umbral Shards and that sort of thing, which, by the way, are going to be removed with this update. Now, they also said it'd be great to, if you want to min-max, to maybe get all of your trade skills up to 200, so that you've then just got the final or the extended 50 levels once those come out. Stockpile materials to get yourself to 250 trade skill cap when it releases, if you are wanting to do so. And they did say weapon masteries up to level 20 might be good, although in my personal opinion they have said that they are revamping this experience to make it more smooth line and streamlined, so it's kind of up to you. I personally am, however, leveling up my weapons. Get gear ready, so leveled up. Lots of Angry Earth and Beasts are going to be in the new area, so although Wards and Bane have gone, elemental things still stand. So for example, Fire versus the Angry Earth is still going to be very good. And there is the brand new ward potions, which you can be ready to craft as well in order to get yourself ahead. So Angry Earth ward or Beast ward potions there as well. And then they kind of said two different things here. Either don't rush the new content when the expansion drops and just enjoy it as you go along, or do rush to 700 gear score and try and be top of the game for a while, which I think personally I'm going to do the latter. It's much more fun to be kind of ahead of the curve in my opinion. But if you're not someone that wants to rush towards that thing, kind of just enjoy the game as you're going along, which does make sense. Now, one really cool thing they also mentioned towards the end here is they said that if you are in the Syndicate, you will have to go to Edensgrove to start the brand new Elysian Wilds quest line, which will of course be the brand new settlement there in Edengrove. Other factions will start in other areas, but of course Syndicate actually have to start in the new zone, which is quite cool, because of course that means for those wanting to check it out, it's going to be on your way to getting on with the brand new quests. So it's up to you what faction you want to go to. If you've got a certain alignment that you stick to, fair enough. But do bear in mind that they are releasing a new tier of faction level once this update drops as well. So swapping right now to a different faction just for a different starting place might not be the best option. Personally, I would rather have it leveled up and ready to go, but that's all up to you guys. So this is just some of the most crucial information that they brought to us today with the dev update video. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on it down below in the comments, and make sure you drop a like and a subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of the latest and greatest. I'll catch you guys again very, very shortly on a brand new upload. So take care and peace.